And now, a brand new episode of Script2Screen Spotlight here on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM, made to be heard. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Script2Screen Spotlight here on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. Today is Friday the 21st of September and we are excited, so excited it's like, I don't know, it's science fiction. I don't even know if that sentence made sense, but, this is what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be focusing on our love of sci-fi, including talking about a fantastic sci-fi director. But I can't do this alone, so let's not waste too much time. Time and sci-fi and back, okay, whatever. And join me in welcoming the Solo to my Chewbacca, which are also two characters from sci-fi fantasy movies, the one and only Han Solo.
Hey, look, I think they get it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they understand what we're doing.
Maybe. Just a little bit.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
This is what I love most about these spotlight episodes is that we get to talk about a genre. Like
we talk about different things.
It's awesome.
And today it's fun because it's something we both really enjoy.
We love, yeah, so much. So much.
It's a genre we're passionate about. We love. There's so many films. There's so many subtypes of sci-fis.
Yep.
Wow.
And see, the beauty of it is that my love of sci-fi actually is across all forms of mediums. I've read sci-fi books. I like sci-fi TV shows, sci-fi animation, sci-fi movies. It's ever. I'm so sci-fi for sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Oh man. So speaking of sci-fi, if you could go back in time, what time era would you go to?
I think as scary as it would be, I would go back to dinosaur times.
Oh, nice. So which one? Like the Cretaceous period, the Jurassic period?
You're very Ross right now.
I am so Ross right now.
I had probably the Jurassic period. Who am I kidding? It's the only period I know because of the movie.
Yeah,
okay. No, but like seeing these big creatures and there's so many questions because the thing is with dinosaurs, it's not very sci-fi. It's very real. They existed and we see them in movies. Are they descendants of reptiles, birds? There's so many questions about that.
Very true.
And
very true.
Hopefully not being eaten by a T-Rex would be good.
Hopefully you'll survive the Jurassic period.
I hope so. I will survive.
I will survive.
How about you?
So I'm torn between two. I would love to go back to the Renaissance period.
Okay.
Specifically around, because that's where a lot of the poets and a lot of that very classic, it's a very romantic period. And I think I would do well for myself during that period.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
But I would also love to go back to, the early years of cinema.
Yeah.
Kind of like see how they were discovering all this stuff, like what led to parallel editing, what led to, the close up and all that stuff. Like I think just witnessing the birth of the thing that makes us create a radio show all about it.
Absolutely.
I think that would also be fascinating. So yeah,
Nice.
I think those.
I could see you like writing poetry and painting and sculpting.
I don't know about sculpting or painting, but definitely, using a quill and writing some poetry.
Yeah,
and
probably. And like
being best friends with William Shakespeare.
Billy, bud.
I don't know if you'd appreciate me calling him Billy Bud, but yeah.
That could be your thing, like your code, your bro names.
The Bud to my Billy. I don't know.
Okay, yeah,
also along the sci-fi lines, do you believe in life in the outer rims, in other galaxies? Are you a fan of like alien theories?
Well, I am one, so yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
You discover a lot of things on Script2Screen.
I come in peace, Earthlings.
Nanu nanu?
Nanu, nanu. Look, I think the universe is too big for us to be alone.
Yeah, I
don't know,
agree.
I don't know if it's aliens I believe in, but definitely a kind of life form out there.
Okay.
It's their possibilities, and it's so huge. It's humongous, and I don't think we'll ever see it in the near future. It's going to take millions of years maybe to get to that technology, and I'm sure there's someone out there.
I think if there is a wiser, smarter life form out there, it's very clear why they would be staying away from this planet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But if they're listening to us, tune in to us every Friday and Saturday.
Yes. You could listen in and hear us talk about movies and TV shows. I don't even know what you use to entertain yourselves in other galaxies, but hey, who are we to talk?
No. I used to entertain myself as a kid, by the way. I used to create these stories, and sci-fi played a big role in it with these characters. And
who are you kidding? You still create those stories.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
So what do we got today for our first spotlight, Mr. Solo?
We're going to be talking about a director I think we both really, really, really like. We're talking about Mr. James Cameron.
Yes.
The one, the only, the godfather of the Terminator, of the Titanic, and
Indeed.
Avatar.
Love him or hate him,
Yeah,
he
he's here.
is James Cameron.
And he'll be back.
And
Yeah.
to the future. Never mind.
Sure.
So yeah, love him or hate him, James Cameron is a fan. I mean, he's got a legacy. He's always been at the forefront for technologies and the advancement of technologies in cinema.
Totally.
I mean, he was essentially the one that brought back the idea of 3D films with Avatar, a film that is much loved and much hated at the same time.
Very debated.
A very debated film. I personally am on the pro Avatar. I loved the film. I've seen it like 6 or 7 times. I still enjoy it. And now apparently in the second, the much awaited sequel, which has taken almost like a decade to make. I said almost.
Oh, yeah, I think.
Has it been a decade?
2009, if I'm not mistaken. So 9 years.
Yeah, so by the time it'll be released...
Probably more over a decade.
Yeah, so apparently now he's trying to use 3D technology and motion capture technology underwater.
Yeah. He always tries to...
The man is crazy.
Yeah. He always tries to defy expectations and go beyond and do things that either haven't been done or no one's even thought of before.
I mean, think back to Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Wow.
Look at the effects that were used in that film, and then think of the release date. Just the amount of, the liquid and the metal and that film.
You could even almost forget the release date because it still works.
It's super current. It's still super, super, super current.
It's as good as a lot of shows with, not shows, a lot of shows and movies we've been seeing recently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's still, it can compete against any one of those films.
Absolutely.
Easily, just like that. I think he's also, not only has he done a lot of stuff as a director to push the film industry forward, but he's also been at the helm of a lot of producing stuff. Yeah. He's produced a lot of really good films, helped shape how they move. There's a new film coming out later. I believe it's later this year, directed by Robert Rodriguez, but he is producing it. Alita Battle Angel, and that film, did you see the trailer?
It looked really interesting.
It looks insane.
It looks very nice.
It looks super insane.
And again, I think it's going to be like a very fun movie. And I like the combination, by the way, of Rodriguez and Cameron. It's because
very indie and very big budget film. Yeah, very, very
it's
interesting.
Complementary, but very different at the same time. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen.
I think also Cameron, the fact that he also writes a lot of his work is also something that's very interesting. Like the majority, he wrote the script to Titanic, I believe it was him, or he has a writing credit. I'm not 100% sure if he wrote the whole thing, but I know Avatar, he fully wrote that. And and the amazing thing with the Avatar franchise, and this is something that you and I have discussed in the past, he's literally taking his time to release these movies to ensure that they are done the right way,
properly,
and whether it be from a technological standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, from I don't know, an animation standpoint, etc. The beauty of what James Cameron is doing is he's like, well, you know what? Fans loved the first one. They're going to appreciate the second one once it's released because of the quality of how good it's going to be. Well, here's to hoping. But this is something that I have to respect with Cameron. He's never one to rush his work.
If you think about it on at least directorial point of view, he hasn't done so many movies. He has, I don't know how many directors credit, but if you look at the time span between one movie and another, it really, there is some time. And I think that's, like you said, he takes his time in what he does. He wants to make good products, good movies, good stories. If a technology isn't where he wants it to be, he'll wait. He'll be patient.
Absolutely.
He'll be patient, and he will work on those films.
Yeah, I'm actually, because you brought that up, I'm actually looking to see like when was, I think the last, I really think the last film that he directed is Avatar.
No, it is Avatar.
Which is like a huge, I mean, if you think about it, that's a huge a gap of time since he's actually released anything that he's directed. And then if you don't count his producing credit with Alita. He's also been working on the miniseries A Story of Science Fiction. That is something that he has been working on, so I know he was a part of that as well. But I don't think that really counts. Okay, so you've got
Avatar. It was in 2009. Was his last
directorial?
Yeah, he did something called Turuk: The First Flight, which is a TV movie in 2016. He was a collaborating director.
Yeah, and that has to do, I believe that has to do with the Avatar, the world of Avatar.
Absolutely. And the rest is, well, there's nothing on a directorial standpoint from there on.
Yeah, interesting. It's very interesting. He's just, and the majority of the stuff that he's worked on has been very science fiction based.
Definitely. Between the Terminator, between the Abyss, between...
So you've got Terminator, The Abyss, Aliens, which he totally revamped that franchise, gave it a brand new life. He directed Piranha Part 2.
That was one of his first earlier works.
That's insane.
That was actually his first feature film.
Yeah. You've got Titanic, which is not, that's not
You've got True
SciFi.
Lies, which is a movie I really enjoy, by the way. It's a lot of fun.
It's a really good, it's actually a really good film.
It's a good action film.
And he's got, let's see, he's filming Avatar 2 and 3 at the moment. He's in pre-production for 4 and 5. I didn't even realize there was supposed to be 5 of them.
Yeah.
I thought there were going to be like 4.
The next one is out in 2020, apparently.
So that's in 2 years.
Yeah, and then
you've got 2021, 2024, 2025. Okay, so there'll be 2 and 3 will come out a year apart, and then 4 and 5 will come out a year apart.
Yeah, but let's see if he sticks to that timeline, because he does have the tendency of changing.
Well, not only that, but you also now need to stick to Disney's timeline, because now Disney owns, essentially they own James Cameron. But again, if you go back to the things that make him who he is, if you look back at his legacy in film, I think one of the films for sure that people constantly talk about when you talk about James Cameron, I think it's a tie between Aliens and Titanic, mostly. Titanic mostly gets negative comments because I know a lot of people dislike the film. I'm a big, I'm an advocate for Titanic. Mm-hmm. I think, sure, the love story might be a little cheesy, but overall the film is excellently made, from the tension, from the way that the Titanic is shot. Again, think of these big, gigantic set pieces, and think of the time. Mm-hmm. When this was made. It's nuts. It's crazy. And then with Aliens, we were just talking about this earlier today. With Aliens, he kind of breathed new life into female heroines in sci-fi, because of what he did with Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character.
Yeah. But he kind of did that, I think, also in the second Terminator with Sarah Connor's character.
For sure.
He's very good at, I think, writing women. making them these very, as you said, it's not in your face. I'm a woman and I'm strong.
Right.
No,
right.
she is strong, and she does that with her actions. And
she's a strong character.
Yeah.
She is a human being that is very strong. That
Absolutely.
just happens to be
Yeah.
a female. That happens to be a woman.
Completely.
Which again is, and then if you think of Alita. This is also another female character at the helm. She's also a protagonist of her own story who seems to be rather kick-ass.
Even in Avatar, Zoe Saldana's
Zoe Saldana's character. I forgot her name.
Neytiri,
maybe? Something? Hang on. Really quickly.
You can do it.
I can do it.
I know Jake Sully was...
Jake Sully. Jake Sully.
Atari. No, that's a video
no,
game.
it's definitely not Atari. That would be kind of funny, though.
But by the way, while you're searching, you know what I want to watch? I want to watch James...
Neytiri, you're right. Neytiri, yeah.
I want to watch James Cameron's version of Aquaman. Do you know this?
I would love James Cameron's version of Aquaman.
Because he was on the show Entourage, and he starred in the show. He's like in 4 episodes.
That's right.
And he's supposedly directing Aquaman. I would have liked to see his version of Aquaman. I think...
One final trivia regarding James Cameron. Before we go on our second musical break here. So when Michael Crichton was pitching Jurassic Park, James Cameron actually read that pitch, got very excited over Michael Crichton's storyline, calls up Michael Crichton and says, when are we making this into a movie? And Michael Crichton's answer was, you should have called 24 hours ago because Steven Spielberg already bought it.
Wow.
So could you imagine if we were living in a world where James Cameron actually took on Jurassic Park? And what's funny, this comes from the story of science fiction. He actually told Steven Spielberg he thinks that he thinks the universe for setting it up the way it did, the way it ended up happening, which is Steven Spielberg directing Jurassic Park. Because in Cameron's opinion, he thinks he would have done a very scary, gory, a la Aliens version of Jurassic Park, whereas Steven Spielberg was like a 12-year-old, in the world of Jurassic Park. So I just thought that was very interesting.
You know what they should do when they give the same movie to do 2 directors in the script, and they just do their versions and see what happens.
There's actually a series called The Chair that actually did that.
I think, you've told me.
Yeah. It's super cool.
But imagine it with like 2 huge, like Spielberg and Cameron.
I would binge watch that show if they did that. Yeah. Okay, so one of the biggest things for me, I think, when it comes to this genre, I think the beauty of sci-fi is that sometimes you can take on topics or issues or social commentary and do it in a way that's very indirect. Like you're pointing it out in a way that is thematic, that is metaphorical, that is symbolic, but you're not actually literally, showing whatever it is that you want to talk about. With things like Star Wars, there's a lot of spirituality. They're talking about religions. They're talking about the corruption that religion could lead to, the corruption of the government. Although the prequels are not necessarily liked by a lot of people, I'm a big fan of the prequels because of all the politics that is in them. Sure, a lot of Star Wars fans love the originals because of the fact that they were fun, they were adventures, blah blah. I actually like all the political stuff that happens in episodes 2 and 3 because episode 1 doesn't have a lot of politics. It has it, but not as strongly as 2 and 3, I think. And then if you look at the animated series, The Clone Wars, literally, so much politics. And I like it because they're dealing with things like in the Clone Wars animated series, they were dealing with things like terrorism. They're dealing with, when the government listens in, they tap your phones or whatever. They're dealing with all this stuff in a way that's not necessarily in your face because you're like, oh, well, this is fiction. So you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does. I'm a bit different than you when it comes to liking sci-fi.
Okay.
I get your point and I do agree with it. But reasons I fell in love with sci-fi and why I love sci-fi, it has this element that allows you to dream.
Yes, for sure.
So these new worlds you see, these new cultures, these new people, the notion of time travel, because sci-fi is it's not just space and
it's anything technology, anything technology based.
So films like Back to the Future or Star Wars or Star Trek, they were fun. And this is the part I love about the spectacle. Discovering places you would fancy, you would want to go, you would want to try. A weekend on Endor.
Yes.
I remember one of my favorite experiences as a kid was in Disneyland, Euro Disney actually, and I was going to Star Tours.
Ugh, such a fun ride.
And I felt I was in Star Wars and we're attacking the Death Star. It was like a dream, kind of kid dream come true.
And they've updated it now, so now you get like all the new, you get all the new planets, and you see Finn and you see Rey. So it's like it's updated while seeing all the other stuff as well.
I was in France a couple of years ago, and I wanted to go into Star Tours, and it was under reconstruction because they were doing these changes. So it's always been fun for me. Sci-fi has always been like Independence Day. Sometimes these movies can just be silly fun where you blow stuff
Mars
up.
Attacks.
Mars Attacks is to me is kind of underrated. It's a lot of fun. It's
a brilliant movie.
It's a lot of fun.
It's so brilliant.
Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Super.
At his best.
Super for me. A lot of people don't like this film, by the way.
I love it. I think it's great.
I highly enjoy it.
I think it's great. It's so weird, but so much fun. See, and I totally agree with you about the adventure and the hopefulness of sci-fi. I think one of the biggest reasons why I started backing away from fantasy, because I'm also a big fantasy fan, so I like Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, is because fantasy has now gotten to the point where it's just too dark. I think a lot of fantasy is now following the trend of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So it's becoming very dark, very gruesome, very unforgiving. Whereas sci-fi, even with the difficulties, it's still about hope. It's still about the future. It's about, even though they are kind of futuristic, it's still about finding an even better future. So I really do enjoy that when it comes to sci-fi. And I love, again, that it is so adaptable to many mediums, to animation, to cinema, to serialized content, to novels, to comic books. I mean, it's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an endless possibility. Even video games.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's a whole massive world of gaming with sci-fi, with things that might have not been explored yet on cinema. There was a game called not Warcraft, StarCraft, which was like but on plan. So yeah, the whole
it's a really old game.
Yeah, it is. I think it's probably 98.
I think it's like during the time of like Red Alert and all that.
Yeah,
like that trend.
The whole networking.
Networking and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but to me, I think sci-fi is one of my favorite genres because.
Oh, me too.
Because it takes you away from the everyday crap you have to deal with.
And yet it's not dumb.
Yeah.
It doesn't dumb you down, but it is an escape.
What bothers me is that a lot of people don't look at sci-fi that way. They say this stupid
it's fake, it's whatever. Yeah,
they don't look at the messages, as you were saying earlier. They don't look at Star Wars. Star Wars is an excellent example because with the whole force and the balance between good and evil, right and wrong, these are very thematic and very interesting topics, everyday topics.
I mean, if you just take on if you take on Yoda's teachings on their own, you could literally write a brand new manual for life. You must let go of the things you are afraid to lose the most.
Do or do not.
Not. There is no try. I mean, it's crazy how much you can learn from films like Star Wars. Battlestar Galactica dealt with the effects of war on a surviving human race. What happens when technology kind of backfires and it's almost Terminator-y. And then you can look, and again, like this is kind of, we go into the subgenres of sci-fi. You've got sci-fi horror, you've got sci-fi fantasy, like Star Wars. It counts as sci-fi fantasy because of the Force and all that stuff. You've got sci-fi action, you've got sci-fi comedy with a film like Paul. Have you seen Paul?
Paul was very funny, yeah.
Paul is great. I love Paul. You've got sci-fi adventure, so you've got like the ETs, the Back to the Futures. And this is, again, this goes back to how brilliant sci-fi. I'm still waiting for the sci-fi musical.
Have they done a sci-fi?
No.
Star Wars.
They've done a sci-fi western.
With
Cowboys versus aliens.
Yeah. No.
And then actually a lot of people, a lot of film theorists and academics actually argue that Star Wars at its core is a sci-fi western.
It's a spaghetti western.
Yeah, it's a spaghetti western in space is what they call it, which I mean, you know, you think of Solo and, you know, the Who Shot First and all that stuff. It's very sci-fi-y.
Sci-fi-ish.
Sci-fi-ish.
Yes.
So what's one of your favorite sci-fi films? Aside from Star Wars.
Obviously Star Wars, Star Trek. I really enjoyed the first Independence Day. That was a very interesting and fun movie. I think it's one of Will Smith's best performances. Back to the Future.
Okay.
The whole trilogy, even though the third one is a bit weaker than the others, but still. And I like how there are cowboys in that. And finally, I think you'll agree with this, Stargate.
The series?
The movie. With James Spader.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
That also directed by Roland Emmerich.
Yes.
Who did Independence Day. And it was a very...
And then Roland Emmerich just went downhill from there.
Yeah. He but that was a very good film because it kind of like they were exploring Egyptian kind of historical alien culture. And it was a lot of fun. I used to really enjoy watching that movie on Saturday afternoons, put it on DVD, watch it. Kurt Russell was in it.
Yes, Kurt Russell was in it.
It was a fun movie.
I agree.
How about you?
Well, okay. So as far as sci-fi films go, I think it's specifically aside from Star Wars. As far as sci-fi films go, I love the Alien films.
Okay.
That's slightly sci-fi horror. I think it counts as sci-fi horror, right? I really like. Shoot, I forgot the name. I'm blanking.
Who's in it? What's it about? Tell me. I'll help you.
I'm totally blanking. I like. Whatever. Okay. So, Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse, those are TV shows, sci-fi TV shows. I do like, see, and this is the thing. I think this goes back to me liking a lot of serialized content as a whole. So like, I never read standalone books. I love books that have 2 or 3 volumes. You know, I love franchises. So Star Wars, Star Trek, the Alien series, the trilogy. And then when it comes to the serialized content, The Expanse and Battlestar Galactica are probably 2 of my most favorite sci-fi shows. I just started getting into the Star Trek TV series. Okay. So I saw the new one, Discovery. But now that, you know that Sir Patrick Stewart is coming back as Jean-Luc Picard, I am a little curious to go back and kind of try to see if I can find and watch Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah, like a younger Picard.
Like a younger Picard. Because apparently I believe they're doing the Luke Skywalker treatment to Picard. The Last Jedi Luke Skywalker treatment, because he said it in his thing. He's like, this isn't the Picard of old, you know, like this is a Picard that's seen a lot of things and 20 years later. So I'm like, oh, okay, so you're Luke Skywalkering this Picard.
Yeah.
So that's also very interesting. We're gonna take our second musical break right now. We have one more segment to go. Third musical break. I've lost count. Can we go back in time so I can fix that?
Let's take the DeLorean and go.
Okie dokie. I'll meet you in the parking lot. So we are now in the final segment of our Spotlight episode today. Unforgettable scenes of sci-fi movies.
So many.
So many.
This was so hard.
This was, I mean, this is why I figured we would give ourselves a little bit of time because, let's face it, we love sci-fi movies. So we've got around the next 20 minutes to
talk about them.
Dig deep.
Yeah. Let's see if we have like common ones.
Sure.
So who goes first?
You go first.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat.
All right.
Because the first one isn't exactly a scene.
Okay.
It's more a segment. It's the last segment from Back to the Future.
Okay.
Probably the last 20, 25 minutes from the moment where they go to the high school dance to when Marty
Comes back. Okay.
Everything is within this segment. You have a very funny scene with Marty McFly and his mother in the car. Mm-hmm. You have a very funny scene when Biff comes and George defends Marty's mother. You have the whole dance scene and the Johnny B. Good scene where Marty McFly plays on the guitar and is just one of the most memorable
and then
musical
fading.
parts. Yeah, and his hand starts to fade because his parents need to kiss. You have to watch this movie to understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But so you have that part. And then you have the whole part in the end where he's trying to tell the doc that he's going to die in the future. He gives him the letter and the doc doesn't want the letter. Mm-hmm. And they need to get that lightning bolt on the big clock tower to hit at exactly, I think, 10:01 or 10:02. Uh-huh. And then there's the plugs which don't go in. And then it's so stressful. So it's so well crafted. It's very intense. Mm-hmm. And you just want to know, is the kid going to go back to 1985?
So you've got music, you've got fun, you've got adventure, you've got serious suspense. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's arguably, I've heard many screenwriters actually say that Back to the Future is actually one of the most concrete screenplays ever written. Because of how well the arc is set up and everything along those lines.
So definitely those last 20 minutes are just epic for me in Back to the Future. And every time I watch it, I'm still stressed. Christopher Lloyd is just amazing.
He's so good. Doc. He's so good.
And McFly and Michael J. Fox. Also, what a killer performance.
Yeah. But Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. Marty. Great Scott.
So I'm going to cheat also because I also have a final sequence that I'm a big fan of. And it has to be E.T.
Okay.
I think from the bike chase on...
traumatic memories
from the bike chase all the way toward the end with E.T. saying I'll be right here and the swelling of John Williams' music and this is sci-fi, man. This is sci-fi. This is a tear. You're crying because an alien is leaving. When has that ever happened in a sci-fi movie? I'll tell you in one of my other favorite scenes. Because there is another sci-fi movie that's made me cry, and that's not counting the many times I've teared up in Star Wars. But I think this final sequence in E.T. is it's exactly what we were talking about. It's heart, it's adventure, it's hope. It's doing what Yoda is telling us to do, learning to let go of the things that we love the most, and knowing that they will always be right here. It's so layered, it's so epically beautiful, and I cry every single time.
Okay. You need a tissue?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
No, but definitely, it is a very emotional scene. As we talked about, I think last week or the one before, it's a movie that kind of traumatized me.
Yeah, I know.
But I do remember the scene, the beauty of it when they hug each other in the end.
Oh, so good.
Beautiful scene.
Just so good.
So my next scene is a bit more intense.
Okay.
And it's the scene in Independence Day when they blow up the White House.
Oh, no.
Because seriously, this specific shot, I think when you watch the movie with the helicopter running away, flying away, and slightly tilting, and then that blue beam coming on the White House and it exploding, very good use of actual practical effects, non-CGI.
Because it's a miniature set.
It's a miniature set, very well done. And that scene, you're like, it's over, man. The aliens have won. They're destroying everything.
We're donezo.
We're finito. And
did you know the studio actually didn't want that scene in the film?
Because it's the White House?
It's the White House.
Yeah.
They did not want. Lo and behold, years later, Olympus has fallen. You know,
The whole White House
down. You
Yeah.
know, like. But they did not want that
Wow.
scene in the film, and the director, I think it's
Roland Emmerich, too.
He argued incessantly for that scene to be in there, and did it anyway.
Yeah.
They weren't okay with it, but he did it anyway, and it's in the movie, and it's probably one of the most spoken about scenes in cinema history.
It's very memorable.
Yeah.
You cannot forget that specific scene. The whole movie is a lot of fun.
James Cameron is actually interviewing Roland Emmerich about this, and he said that he remembers in the story of science fiction, they actually brought up that scene. He said he remembers being in the movie theater, and then some guy in the seats in front of him going, "We're dead, we're dead,"
Yeah.
and it's such a daunting shot. It's such a, like that's it. The government has fallen, literally. That's a pretty epic scene in a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I think. The second scene I want to talk about on my end has to be for me. It has to be seeing Pandora for the first time in Avatar.
Yeah.
I think the moment you see it that first time, you're literally feeling the same thing these characters are feeling when they see it the first time. When you see those creatures, the natural ambience, the atmosphere, the ecosystem, all of it. It's crazy how realistic it all felt, how beautiful it all looked. And again, it goes back to that awe-inspiring kind of imagination-filled places you've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
When you see the floating mountains, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous to look at. And I think that for me is something that's completely unforgettable. Because the moment you say Pandora now, you're no longer thinking of that old music app. You're thinking of the planet.
Oh, I'm thinking of the box, but yeah.
Oh, Pandora's box. Okay. That's very morbid.
No, but definitely, the greenery and the waterfalls from the mountains, which are floating. That's just beautiful, and the whole wildlife you get to see, the animals.
Exactly.
And again, creating something from scratch, not from an existing property, is always, I think, 10 times more impressive.
I think it echoes the same thing you felt in Jurassic Park
When
the first time you see the brachiosaur. It's that same awe-filled moment.
Yeah.
You're just like, whoa, this is real. It's this awesome feeling. Sometimes you get goosebumps just thinking about it. So that's my second scene.
All right. My third scene is probably the most cliche scene.
All right.
But it's got to be Darth Vader, Luke, the "I am your father" scene.
Yes.
I mean, we cannot do this segment and not talk about this
Yeah,
scene.
you can't. That's very true.
Because A, it's one of the biggest plot twists in movie history.
Yeah.
B, it's done in such a way where Luke is at his weakest.
Yep.
He's also almost done dead. I think by that point his hand was chopped off.
Yes.
So, and those...
He told me enough.
And then, he's like, he told you, Kenobi told me you killed my father.
He told me you killed him.
And then he's like, no, I am your father.
I am your
It's
father.
not, no, it's Luke, I am your father. No,
I am your father. Luke, I am your father is not actually it.
Absolutely.
You told me that.
We talked about that.
Yes, we did.
and that moment where Luke doesn't believe him is like, no,
and he screams, Mark Hamill. An applause goes out to you, my friend,
applause.
for taking a scene that could have been extremely cheesy and making it the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking moment in cinema history.
By the way, I heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, while filming the scene, the actor playing Darth Vader, David Price, I think, doesn't say...
No, he doesn't. That was not what was in the script. The only person that knew, aside from George Lucas, was Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Because they showed him the line the day of, and they said, you need to react as if he's saying this.
That, exactly. And no one had a clue.
No one had a clue.
And then the movie came out and blew everyone away.
Yeah. I believe that Mark Hamill knew, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that they told Mark Hamill the day that they were shooting, and then they just kind of went for it. Which is okay. So my third scene is actually also in the Star Wars universe, but it's not the Luke, I am your father scene.
Okay.
Or the no, I am your father scene. It would have to be the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight sequence.
Okay. Yes.
Because it's just so grandiose. It's so grandiose. It's so operatic. It's so gorgeously choreographed. It's like this is it. This was like the climax of Revenge of the Sith. It was the moment we had been waiting for since the I am your father sequence. You know what I mean? It's so dark. It's heartbreaking, and at the same time, you're angry that this is happening because you don't want this to happen, because you've basically realized at this point that Anakin was just manipulated into becoming Darth Vader. Like, this wasn't necessarily his smart choice. Like, it wasn't, he was manipulated. He was lied to, he was led into, he was tempted by the dark side of the Force. It's weird. I can't just say the dark side. I have to say the dark side of the Force. And it's so, and it ends with one of Ewan McGregor. And then also, I know not a lot of people are fans of Hayden Christensen, but that final I hate you at the end, as he's being burnt alive, it's some good drama right there between him and Ewan McGregor. I'm actually not as critical about Hayden in Revenge of the Sith as I am of Hayden in
Clones.
Attack of the Clones. I thought Hayden in Revenge of the Sith actually really became Anakin somehow. He didn't have as many doo-doo lines as he did in Attack of the Clones. But then also, and I've said this kind of before, the Clone Wars animated series really redeems the prequels, because you get to see a lot of the stuff that we weren't able to see in the movies, which is how bad the war got, how many planetary systems actually collapsed because of what was happening. We didn't get the chance to see that in 3 films, unfortunately. But you do get to see it in the Clone Wars. So I think that scene in and of itself is just so epic.
Yep. I don't know why, for me, Christensen, a lot of people say that, but I agree with them. Feels like a spoiled little brat shouting all the time. Maybe some of the lines didn't help him.
Yes, I would have to say that, yes, some of the lines didn't help. But you also have to understand that these films came out in the 2000s, so you had angsty teens everywhere. So you also have to consider that Christensen was robbed from his mom. Not Christensen, but like Anakin was not robbed away, but like he moved away from his mom. He was having to deal with a already flawed system, which was the Jedi Order. They were already kind of starting to fall apart, so he was very confused. And that's why I said I like him more in Revenge of the Sith than I do in Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, he was very angsty. The scene where he's talking about how he killed all the sand people is so terrible. And then the I don't like sand line, that's also, that's worse. I don't like sand. It's rough and coarse and gets everywhere. It's terrible. Like, who says that? And then again, it's a big improvement over, midichlorians. What are midichlorians? Yeah. And then it got even better for Revenge of the Sith. So yay, progress.
It is. Yeah. If you want to talk about progress, yeah, I'm in.
But again, when you watch the Clone Wars, it really does redeem Anakin's character.
Yeah.
And the voice actor Matt Lanter, he's done a lot. He's a known actor. I don't know if you've heard of the show Timeless. It's a sci-fi show about time travel. Yes. He's the lead actor in that. He's the young lead actor in that. He plays Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. Okay. Yeah, which is coming back for a final season.
Yeah.
Yay. Do you have any more scenes?
I have one more scene.
Okay.
I have the scene where in Terminator 2, when John Connor is with the Terminator, and they start to joke around with the Hasta la Vista baby, and for the first time in the Terminator series,
he's humanized. Yeah, big time.
And it's a very nice touch to making you get attached to this character. And it amplifies in the end when the Terminator goes down in the lava and just does the thumbs up.
The thumbs up, yes.
It just makes so much more. And actually, this is a scene where I, have a few tears.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. For sure. So I mean, I think that's basically it for this week's episode. Did we decide that we were going to do the recommendations now, or are we doing the recommendations for? Are we keeping that in the news hour?
No, that's news hour.
Are we keeping that in the news hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool beans.
Cool.
Brooklyn
Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So really quick, I'm going to say, because I was going to put that in my recommendation and then, okay. So one of, a final scene for me, I'm just going to say the movie because I really like the movie. I think it's a little underappreciated, but I really like it, is Super 8.
Yes.
I think Super 8 is the ET for the newer generation.
Yes.
And it has that beautiful final moment as well of letting go, but this time it's not, right, it's not the alien, it's the necklace floating away to the aliens. And that scene kills me every single time.
And the music in the background.
The music is so good. Yeah. Michael Giacchino. Amazing. So this is it for this episode of Script2Screen.
Script2Scream.
Script2Screen.
Oh, that's going to be the horror genre, Script2Scream.
Yeah, Script2Scream.
Yes.
Script2Screen is Spotlight. I hope you enjoyed it on this fantastic Friday afternoon. You can catch us again tomorrow at 3 p.m. for a brand new episode of the Script2Screen News Hour. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
We come on twice a week. I still can't get over it. Eventually I will, and I'll stop talking about it, and I'll stop boring you guys with my excitement over the twice a week thing. But if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on our Instagram. You can follow me at Alan Mahana Official, and you can follow my co-captain at...
I'm going to correct you. It's not Alan Mahana Official. It's Alan Mahana.
Oh, my goodness. It's Alan Mahana. I took away the official.
Yes.
Hi.
He is Alan Mahana, and I am...
Had.solo.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a flippity.
Exactly.
A flippity. You can catch us again next Friday, same time, 3 p.m., same place, Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. If you want to listen to our show via streaming, you could do so at Take It Away, Had.solo.
So what?
We're talking about our streaming services.
You can listen to us on Anrami.
Yup.
And you can listen to us on Apple Podcast and any other podcast.
Any other podcast-friendly app.
Script2Screen.
Yes, indeed. So that's Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Stitcher Radio, Overcast Podcasts, whichever. You can find us. All you have to do is look up, Had Solo said, you look up Script2 Screen. Any final notes?
They can also check our website.
Oh, that's right. You can check out our awesome website at www.script2screenpod.com, and also follow us on our Facebook page at Script2Screen Pod as well.
A lot of following and social media.
Yes. A lot of social media. Again, you guys, you can email us with your feedback at script2screenshow@gmail.com. Message us on our Facebook page, on our Instagram. Soon to be Snapchat. We're working on our Snapchat as well. Although it's a lot of social media that we're juggling, but we're doing our best. Yay!
Yippee!
Yeah. Yippee.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay. Mother toots.
Mother toots. And speaking of mother toots, we are going to be out of here. Make sure you go watch some movies, go watch some TV shows, enjoy dreaming in sci-fi land.
Or other sorts of
or other lands. Action land, horror land.
Comedy land.
Musical
comedy land.
There's also a network called TV Land.
Ooh.
It's an actual channel.
Nice.
It's called TV Land. It plays all the old sitcoms.
Ooh, I could watch that.
Yep, I could do that too. Okay, we are out of here. Thank you, and cue the credits. Hi, I'm Alan.
And I am Hat Solo.
And together we can rule the galaxy.
that might take too much time. Let's talk about films and TV instead.
That makes sense. Join us at 3 p.m. every Friday for Script2Screen Spotlight and Saturday for the Script2Screen News Hour.
We'll be discussing all the latest news from the film and TV industry.
And we'll also enchant you with some of the greatest songs and soundtracks out there. Script2Screen, only on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM, made to be heard.